These are the sights and sounds of street life in Damascus, the capital of Syria and what most consider to be the oldest city on the face of the planet. The city's infrastructure and people have been virtually unscathed by the decades of violent conflict that has plagued the Middle East. However, it is virtually impossible to understand or address the trials and tribulations of Lebanon without examining the history it shares with Syria. The ATOP team bore witness to the destruction of Lebanon caused by an almost endless series of conflicts within that country.
This is from the Hezbollah and Israel conflict in June to July of 2006. In spite of many buildings that were renovated, there's still the challenge of immense destruction here, and also behind you, Crystal, you see over here all the residential homes all gone. You see the bombs in that house over there, the top floor all black and burned, and destruction everywhere. This is the area that used to be all Christian, but because of the war they pulled away, and Hezbollah kind of settled in, and they're supposedly protecting Lebanon.
From there, the team visited another infamous site within the city that was once considered the Paris of the Middle East.
There's more destruction, unfortunately, my cousin is saying. Crystal.
Here where they killed the Hariri, the Prime Minister.
Oh, this is where they killed Hariri? This is
now,
where they killed Prime Minister Hariri.
You will see the bomb. Where is it here? It was here in the middle of the road.
And within seconds, the team sees a relic of yet another conflict.
What did that happen from?
This is from the war, not from this one.
From the last war?
No, from the war, Civil War.
Oh, Civil War, yeah. Oh, wow, that's from the Civil War. You see the destruction, Crystal?
Yep.
And that's their flag with the tree on it. Lebanese flag. This is also from the Civil War?
Yes.
It's also...
There is little building from Civil War only.
Next, the team visits the memorial dedicated to former Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri, who served as Prime Minister from 1992 to 1998, and then again from 2000 until his resignation in 2004. He, along with 21 others, were killed on February 14, 2005, as explosives were detonated as his motorcade passed the St. George Hotel in Beirut. In order to understand the relevance of Hariri and his death, the history of Lebanon needs to be understood. Although one can spend a full day discussing the historical developments of Lebanon over the last century, what is important to note is that for hundreds of years, Lebanon and Syria were part of the region known as Greater Syria, and for 400 years ruled by the Ottoman Empire. As a result of the defeat of the Ottoman Empire during World War I, its possessions in the Middle East were either doled out to the European victors as spoils or set up as monarchies. In the hands of the Europeans, the region was arbitrarily divided into states under the control of the European victors. With the onset of World War II came the military and financial inabilities of these European imperialists to control these territories. This resulted in most states in the region gaining their independence. However, when the European armies pulled out, the countries in the region were left to battle and protect borders established by outside third parties. This dynamic, coupled with Western influence to control a region that holds 90% of the world's oil reserves, and the establishment of the State of Israel, which is controlled primarily by European immigrants and their descendants, has left the region a hotbed for conflict. In the specific case of Lebanon, France was given the mandate over what is now Lebanon and Syria in 1916 and formed the State of Lebanon in 1920, which in turn gained its independence from France in 1943. In fairness, because of French technology and assistance, and Beirut's position as the regional center for finance and trade, Lebanon prospered for the next 3 decades. In 1975, however, a civil war that would last 15 years broke out due to conflicts dating back to the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire in 1916. The conflict began as an interreligious strife between the Christians and Muslims. That instability gave the Palestinian Liberation Army an opportunity to establish itself in Lebanon and use it as a base to strike against Israel. During a pause in the fighting in 1976, Lebanon requested Syrian assistance as peacekeepers, mainly to protect the Christians. However, 2 years later, the Syrians sided with the PLO in its campaign within Lebanon. As a result of the PLO's attacks from Lebanon, Israel began its invasion of Lebanon, laying ruin to what was left of Beirut and capturing a portion of southern Lebanon. To complicate the situation even more, Hezbollah was formed in 1985 with the financial backing of the government of Iran and stood as a militia whose primary purpose was to fight the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon. As such, Lebanon found itself embroiled in a 15-year ultra-violent conflict that involved facets of its own people, Syria, the PLO, Hezbollah, and Israel, with each establishing and betraying alliances to each other over the course of those 15 years. And this list does not even include the American, French, Italian, and British peacekeepers that were also in Lebanon during periods of the conflict. And while the PLO were evicted from Lebanon in 1982, it was not until the 21st century that Lebanon began to get her country back from foreign occupiers. As to Hezbollah, this group focused its efforts on not only ending the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon, but has morphed itself into a political party that, while still militant based on Western standards, holds positions in Lebanese government and is popular with many Lebanese citizens. 15 years after its creation, and in the year 2000, it achieved its primary military objective as Israeli forces withdrew from Lebanon. With respect to Syria, by 1982, the Arab League mandate that legitimized Syria's presence in Lebanon had expired, and by 1986, the Lebanese government officially requested an end to Syria's presence. Syria, however, refused to withdraw its forces and remained as the only foreign occupier of Lebanon going into the 21st century. Mr. Hariri was a self-made billionaire who became prime minister soon after the end of the Civil War. Through his financial wizardry, he became a darling of the international investment community and significantly rebuilt Lebanon's economy that had been decimated by the Civil War. He was truly Lebanese in his philosophy and rebuffed George W. Bush's request to hand over members of Hezbollah, responding that Hezbollah were the ones protecting Lebanon against Israeli occupation. And this is after Hariri had successfully campaigned for the withdrawal of Israeli troops in the year 2000. Although his political savvy also extended to his open support of the Syrian presence in Lebanon, he openly objected to the extension of the term of Lebanon's current president, an extension that resulted from Syrian pressure. Whether Syria had direct involvement in his death stands as a question, but what is a fact is that it triggered the Cedar Revolution, which called for the end of Syria's military and intelligence presence in Lebanon, and also the resignation of the pro-Syrian Lebanese government. A series of demonstrations and popular civic action throughout Lebanon and pressure from the international community achieved these two objectives of the revolution within 90 days of Hariri's death. Hariri unquestionably will stand as a national hero, having ousted the Israelis in his life and the Syrians in his death. Notwithstanding Lebanon having become occupier-free in 2005, in 2006 an all-out conflict erupted between Hezbollah and Israel. In Israel's attempt to eradicate Hezbollah's infrastructure in Lebanon, and with the blessing of the U.S., Israeli jets bombarded cities and villages throughout the whole of Lebanon. Despite the level of devastation and loss of life in Lebanon, the Israeli military campaign is seen as a significant failure within not only the international community, but within Israel herself, the result of which has only strengthened Hezbollah's legitimacy in Lebanese politics. If that is not enough, on May 20th of 2007, and while Dr. Kalajian's team was present, the 2007 Lebanon conflict began. And while most of the fighting was within Palestinian refugee camps in the north and south, several terrorist bombings took place in Beirut. And it is into this quagmire the MHOP team hoped to bring some level of individual peace and self-determination.
Would you like to?
Yes, I appreciate the learning that took place for me in terms of your reports and your programs and what you're working on. And at the same time, I felt kind of helplessness on some level where I feel that there's a psychological theory of generalized helplessness. When you feel you have no control of the bullets, you have no control of Israel and US and all the surrounding Arab countries' policies, and Lebanon is so small, I can see the helplessness in the report in terms of global versus regional, and what percent does the local affect the general climate change. But at the same time, I just want to say that we cannot change the world ourselves individually. I think individually too we have a responsibility, and that's what, if you can focus on what you can do personally, it gives you this empowerment. Then you can affect that vibrates to the larger community, and that affects the larger Arab community. Because I even heard our taxi driver yesterday say that, oh, it's so terrible in Syria that when something happens in Lebanon, everything stops in Syria. When something happens in Israel, in Iraq, we're all affecting one another. And that's what the gist of it is, that even in a small ways, whatever we can, that's all we can do personally. I know some of you are responsible for large organizations and government and so on. But for me as a psychologist, although I am coming from the UN and I'm trying to bring this message to the UN, my message is, please do something on a personal level. It's never too late, or it will impact, maybe not in a very large way, but it would make you feel better. And Lebanon would look much better, would be less polluted, less dirty, less garbage around. And I'm sure you will feel good personally that you're doing something. That's my personal feeling.
The ATOP team's trip was prompted by invitation by both the Lebanese Psychological Association as well as the American University of Beirut. Here, Dr. Kalajian takes a group of volunteers through exercises to explore the current trauma and those of the past that remain unresolved in the context of an uncertain future.
If you feel you need to take your shoes off, that would be a good practice, so you can connect, if not with the earth, but with the symbolic representation of it.
Why was your position to be converted Christian?
It's guided, yeah, but we're going to focus on forgiveness. Try to have your palms resting either on your thighs, either open or palms down, and try to find a comfortable place so that you can stay there and not give in to distractions. Just as soon as you get your portion of the forgiveness drop, try to be mindful of your back, straight back, and kind of lift and roll your shoulders to release some of the stress, tension, questions, uncertainties. Release all that is outside of your control and relax. Uncross your legs. And close your eyes. And focus on your belly breathing. If you need to unbutton your hands or unzip, you more room for expansion. Undo your belt. Breathe in gently and effortlessly as you get into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. With every breath you take, You are getting into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Relax your head, your forehead. Relax your eyes, your nose. Relax your face and mouth. Relax your jaws, your ears. Relax your entire face and head. Relax. Breathe in gently and effortlessly as you enter into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Relax your neck and throat. Relax your shoulders and arms. Relax your hands and each and every finger relax. Every time I mention a body part, direct your breath and your attention to that body part.
Prior to Dr. Kalajian's presentation on generational transmission of genocide and mass trauma at Higazi University, she had a chance to chat with the president of the university about her team's agenda.
Yes. Have a seat. We have what? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? 1 minute? Nice.
You have a problem with
We'll
the
make the
internet.
best of the short
That's good.
time.
Yes. So, have a seat. So, how has been the first day?
Wonderful. We
Yeah.
had a great lecture at the AUB.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very
For students,
receptive.
mostly?
Yeah. No, they had faculty from physics department, from geology, nursing, anthropology, and graduate students, psychology students too they had. Yeah.
Good.
It was a good mixture.
Yeah.
The questions were great. All
good.
kinds of questions about how to prepare, what to do, and the political situation here.
And you have a few in the south or not yet?
Yes, we're going to actually train the mental health professionals or psychologists in the South. Tomorrow we have 2-day training
Okay.
for the Lebanese Psychological Association. And then I'll go to Syria. I was born in Aleppo.
Interesting.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So when did you leave here or where? Aleppo or Beirut?
Oh,
To the US.
Halab.
Halab. Yeah.
Aleppo. Yes.
It's going to be faster in the body. The last 20 years, we have a lot of research indicating that the body remembers, the cells have a memory. So even if you want to force it down, it's going to come up sometime, somehow, somewhere when you least expect and when you're most vulnerable. Gender issues in resource allocation. I've been in orphanages in Armenia, China, Afghanistan, and they all have problems in that everything is given to the men first. If there is milk left over, then it's given to the girls. So there's tremendous difficulties. When we talk about trauma, what are we talking about? We're talking about natural disasters like hurricanes. I'm sure some of you heard about Katrina. Next one, the World Trade Center attacks. And the earthquake in Turkey. Genocide of the Armenians. And the latest, the assassination of Hrant Dink, in terms of examples how trauma affect us from individual situation, like one person dying in Hrant's case, to genocide where there are thousands and millions of people that are. And I want to take a moment to at least dedicate this presentation to my friend who was shot to death, assassinated by Turkish extremists for his views of free speech and for his views and courage of identity, where he said, I'm Armenian, but I'm a Turkish citizen, for which he was tried and judged and harassed because according to Article 301, that's insulting Turkishness, which my computer always...
Like her friend Hrant Dink, Dr. Ani Kalajian is an Armenian living in diaspora. Mr. Dink was an outspoken human rights activist, using his role as editor, journalist, and columnist for the Turkish Armenian newspaper Argos to spread the word. Whereas Mr. Dink was born and lived in Turkey, Dr. Kalajian was born in Syria. And while in Syria, she had a discussion with other members of the Syrian Armenian Club.
21st century. America has to move according to this school. I mean the extreme right.
Right.
So they have to dominate the oil. The 75% of the strategic reserve is in this area, between Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the Gulf. Okay, so they can prevent the high price, the low prices in the markets that China and India and elsewhere are. If you want to make their goods become more expensive in the future, or you want to control the industry, you have to control the main source of that industry. And I believe if the American army withdraws now, be a big civil war.
Yes, a big chaos, yeah.
It will be a chaos.
Yeah.
I believe so. But the Israelis want that chaos to happen.
And you know what the majority said is the solution? Because I asked them, okay, if you had the power, if they make Vargan, just imagine that you can change the world. How would you go about it? It's a master ավելի համը պետք է Գանդիի պես, Մարտին Լութեր Քինգի պես, անանք մեկը պետք է միջին արևելքի արաբները իրար գաբելի, ասին որ լեցու միջին արևելքի ուժ կա հոս, ասին արաբները եթե կրնան, անանք մեկը ունենան որ, ասե որ առանց գրիվի, առանց թերորիզմի, առանց պայթեցնելու, եկեք միանանք, let's get together without force, non-violence, ադան գևորվի լուծումը գտնվի։
Որովհետև չի ծրիա, ոչ ամերիկան, ոչ լուծումը գտնվի։
Հա, բայց այո, ճիշտ է։
Արաբական երկիրներն իրար չեն գտնավ միանալ, որովհետև ամեն մեկնար
դերմակաշված է։ Թելերը Ադե որ իրենք կսեն, որ պետք է, այսինքն անդրադառնան, որ թելերը կքաշվի, պետք է չծիքեն, որ թելերը քաշվեն, եւ իրենց ուժերը փոխորեն, to be more united. Այսինքն ես սպասիկութենեն, այսինքն ինձ չի գնար երևակայել, որ նոր ամերիկա որ կացիքսն, լեցուն արաբկա, ասոն խայքինի կլոքնին եթե Կովի կան, վույրը մեկը չի նար իրենց համանը, և ուժը հոս է, resource-ները հոս են, the oil is here, you can do everything, just you have to get your head and heart and gut together, ամեն մեկը դարբերը սազիկ պես հաժնված է, անցին մեջ և collective կաղոթին մեջ, ամեն մեկը նույնիսկ սենք հայերեն արնենք, Թեքիյանին արնենք, աս պաշանումները, որովհետև աս հանը, այսին spiritual կամ հոգեգան, աս կարևորը, որ միասնականությամբ նախանցելով իրարու հետ թունադիգն ես, որ great, ես ալասի գնեմ, միասին գլա ամեն տեսակ, թունած տեսակը գնես, մադին ամեն մեկ, ծերտին ամեն մեկ մադները դարբեր են,
It's important. Everyone has everything. Every single finger has a function. Asi garchi selo muiso bicho yes yergarem kerem medem yes gishkem meshterinem. You have to think that how we can all work together.
The Umayyad Mosque, or more commonly referred to as the Grand Mosque of Damascus, is one of the largest and oldest mosques in the world. Contrary to Western misconceptions about Islam, Muslims consider as prophets many of the figures considered prophets by Christians. Just as Christians hold as prophets many of those considered prophets by Jews. In fact, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are considered part of the Abrahamic religion, as all three of them claim Abraham as part of their history. Both Moses and Jesus are considered prophets in Islam. The Grand Mosque of Damascus serves as a symbol of this truism, as within its structure there is a shrine that is said to contain the head of John the Baptist, a prophet in both Islam and Christianity. So what better place to engage in a discussion on comparative theology?
Yes. Jesus' disciple asked him, how many times shall I forgive my brother? And he said, 70 times 7. Is there anything like that about forgiveness in the Quran?
Well, it is one of the very important subjects in Islam is tolerance.
Tolerance.
With all people, whether Muslims or non-Muslims.
Yes.
You know, so we are as a human, we need him, and we should be tolerant with each other. If we forgive each other, no problem.
Is there anything like in Judaism?
Yes.
There's emphasized that God is the one really forgives, but if there is need for forgiveness, there must be justice with forgiveness.
Yes.
It's not like the Christianity.
Yes.
Christianity says, just
yes.
if they hit you here, turn the other face.
Yes.
Now, is there anything like that, like specific in the Quran?
I think in Islam it is the same as Christian. Peace.
Can you give me like a quotation? I lecture on this, that's my topic.
هي أستاذ البروفيسور السؤال إنه التسامح عند المسيحية مو بالضرورة يكون مرتبط مع الحق. إنه حتى لو قل حق عرفت كيف؟ حتى لو ما نوع على حق تسامحه. في شيء مماثل بالإسلام
طبعا. The career of Prophet Muhammad is all the same. He never gets angry with people. He only gets angry with the religion, with Allah only. يعني كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم إنه ما يزعل من حدا لو آذوه. لكن بس بالقرآن بس طبعا لا حتى هو زيادة من عنده إنه حتى لما كانوا يقتلوه كذا مرة حاولوا يقتلوه وبالأخير لما صار قوي عفى عنه. فقال له رب العالمين إنك على خلق عظيم.
He says that even the Prophet Muhammad, when they tried to kill him, when I guess he was weak at a certain time, but when he became stronger and he could probably punish them, he forgave people who tried to kill him.
And God said to him,
told him that you did a good deed.
Yes. And also God asked him, if you want, I can make the 2 mountains on them.
Yes,
he said,
I saw
no,
that
I don't like this because maybe one of them would say, he was very good
believer.
Yes. He was very good human.
To save.
So this is the best example of tolerance, without justice.
Dr. Kalajian is asked to speak on the Voice of On radio program. The radio station is the official radio station of the Armenian Revolutionary Federation in Lebanon. Its mission is to broadcast authentic Armenian music and songs and generally has the mandate to preserve Armenian culture in order to prevent its extinction. Because of Dr. Kalajian's work, she is somewhat of a celebrity here.
www.meaningfulworld.com Ադե, ուրեմն մենք դա
Ինչ է ասկազմակերության նպատակը։
Նպատակը որ աշխարհի մեջ աս պատերազմներու եւ իրար մերցնելու վերջ կա եւ սերով եւ իրարու հարկելով եւ իրարու ներելով իմաստալից աշխարհմշ
ասենապատային դեպի այս ուղղությամբ կաշխատի
այո համաշխարհային է
այո համաշխարհանի անդամներ ունի կամ կանի գազագերբություններում միություն
այսին անդամներ անգրնան անցել
անհատներ
այո անհատներ գրնան անդամլալ եւ երբ որ մենք թե AUB թե եւ Լիբանանի
Dr. Kalajian's talk at the radio station is so well received that a newspaper that's housed in the same office building is keen to sit her down for an interview to discuss her mission. This gives her the opportunity once again to promote the various presentations on tap during the course of her visit.
Այնքան ծաղճացած էին, որ արև չէին ուզել այդ մասին աշխատի, խորի և այլն, ուրեմն մենք անգլերեն քորքին տագը գրեցին, ենթագիտակցության մեջ գտա, բայց երբ որ Իսրայելի պատերազմները ամեն բան դուրս ելավ, առաջվա ճնշումներն դուրս ելավ. Just want to share this cartoon. May I have some water? This American cartoon, a little kid is saying, "What's that, Mom?" The ocean, dear. Sewage, toxic waste, syringes, and dead rats. What's that, Mom? Sky, dear. Ozone collapse, acid rain, and Star Wars. What's that, Mom? Slum, political corruption, racism, street crime, garbage, starvation, poverty. Where did I come from, Mom? Sex, and that could be dangerous because of HIV and AIDS. Where is Dad, Mom? Insider trading in prison. For insider trading. Thank you. Why are these people laughing funny like that, Mom? They're smoking crack. What's that, Mom? A B-52, dear. Carries nuclear weapons. And then the mom gets frustrated. Oh, stop all these questions. What would you like to be when you grow up? Alive, if possible, Mom.
The concept of trauma is truly relative, as each individual has his or her own level of tolerance. The ATOP team traveled to southern Lebanon to assess the traumas that the Hezbollah-Israeli conflict imposed on its residents. In particular, the team wanted to spend time with the children involved in this most recent outbreak of violence in the region. The American cartoon that Dr. Kalajian included in her presentation certainly speaks to the real trauma experience in our country. However, it must be noted that our experience generally pales in comparison to what these children have experienced. These children are, in fact, the poster children of generational transmission of genocide and mass trauma, and the horrific reality is that given the decades of conflict in southern Lebanon, these children are not only the children of conflict, but they are the children of children of children of conflict.
You see yourself? Yeah. Say hi.
They're doing a collective collage, a group collage.
Bye, تصبح خير.
There's one person who doesn't want to join. He looks very sad. And Dr. Mirna is talking with him.
تجربي بالقلم اللي عطيتك اياه كيف منيح انا برصاص طلع ولا
مين هذا؟
هذا حسن
حسن. He's drawing his friend.
حسن انا
حسن.
هو
And مين هذا حسن؟
احمد.
Ahmed. So they're drawing each other.
Ahmed. عم يوصل بعض
Ooh, love. Look what she wrote. Love. Some of them use the picture to kind of replicate.
خشبة مرحبا بدك خشبة مرحبا فيها والله حلو منيح.
شو هي؟
هديك رسمة ريم.
رسمة ريم عجبتك؟ شاطرة من هيك الرسم.
He appreciates her drawings. He says that she's very hardworking.
نفسي حبيب.
بده يروح محمد بس أنا ما حابة يروح، أنا كثير حابة إنه يشتغل معه. مين حتحطها هي؟
The teacher's trying to get the other student come in and join the group, but he's not feeling well today.
هدي رسائل
زرافة.
تايتل.
زرافة.
أنا
You know
فضلت.
any of these children were affected in the last year, that they lost their home or they
No, not directly.
indirectly.
Most, like these two children, right now around their house, there's a lot of mines, and so
they can't.
بدك تفتحهم سبيس. تعلي لفوق، ما تكبسوا لما تكبسوا بسكر، okay?
So they can't play around outside.
Yeah, and they actually do play with mines. Sometimes some of them already exploded, and one time they brought them to school, and they're very neglected.
لا فيش روحة.
لا معي الصبايا جاي بس عم بيشوفوا.
When was this, Ani?
ما تاخذنا حبيبي.
Ani, when did this happen?
This morning. Can you see it? Because I took a picture, it doesn't show.
معلقة إذا بدهم يصوروا أمريكان هيك بدهم يشوفوا.
إذا ممكن. Okay.
ما تاخذنا. ما تاخذنا حبيبي.
شكرا. He says tomorrow it's okay. They're scared tonight something is going to happen. They don't want us to be there, to be even here for a moment. So they said whatever you want to do in the morning, broad daylight, you can't even do anything now. Because they're dealing with it. You see the soldiers on the right and the left. And the clubs are all nobody's in the clubs or restaurants. The day before yesterday, you saw how there was no room in the restaurants. Now there's nobody in the restaurants.
زعلاني مني بعدك زعلاني